Hello, I'm Tanzina Amin. I'm a Bangladeshi Canadian visual artist, teacher, curator, and energy healer. I work mainly with oil and acrylic on canvas, although I also work with inks and graphite, charcoal, and some mixed media. My portfolio is quite eclectic, ranging from realism to abstracts, and I work with a lot of bright and vivid, bold colors. Today, I'm very happy to bring to you an acrylic painting workshop brought to you in partnership with VASA Arts Festival 2024, organized by Akisa. Thank you so much for joining, and let's start. So I'm working on two canvases side by side simultaneously, just because they're small canvases. The video is sped up quite a bit, just so it doesn't get too boring. So I like to paint in multiple layers. So the first step is to just cover the canvas. Leave no spot unpainted. So you shouldn't have any white area, like white canvas showing. And once the whole canvas is covered, I just keep going layer after layer. I might be spraying some water to get some paint drips in there. I might add thicker layers of paint. These are canvas panels, so the edges are very thin, but still I'm just painting the edges, just in case when it's framed, if the edges show, I want to make sure that all surfaces of the canvas is nicely covered in paint. Once the canvases are covered in one layer, in this case, I tried using some tissue to add more texture. You can use other material as well. You can use fabric, you can use mesh and paper, whatever you want. And you don't have to. Just keep on going with colors and layers and textures. I'm using a brayer after adding some paint straight out of the tube. I just wanted to see how that looks. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. So keep on going until you're satisfied with the amount of contrast, the amount of different colors, textures, whatever you're drawn to. You can add all kinds of different colors. Like I started off with warm colors, now I'm adding some cool colors, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. You can add colors in any random order. You can add them as blobs, you can add them as lines and shapes. They don't have to mean anything at all. At this point, I'm not thinking about what the finished painting will look like. All I want is a lot of color, a lot of contrast. If you don't like contrast, you don't even have to add a lot of contrast. Just add all the colors that you love. Painting is so personal. It needs to be something that you are drawn to. So I'm just adding more and more lines and patterns and textures. Here I'm adding some gold and silver, little dots, little lines, and I'm just leaving them like that. I'm leaving that thickness of the paint. The thickness will go down a bit once it dries, but it doesn't matter. And I have already allowed my paints to dry a couple of times in between, because this is recorded. The pauses, the drying times, those are not caught on camera. And once the whole canvas is done and I'm fairly satisfied with all the shapes and colors and lines and markings have appeared on my canvas. I will let it dry overnight. And here I am coming back the next day and starting to draw something. I did some abstract-ish flowers. It could be anything. It could be silhouettes. It could be silhouettes of people, of animals, of any objects, or it could be just abstract shapes. Whatever you want to draw, you can just choose any contrasting color so you can see it on your painting on the background layer, and just draw. Fill the canvas as much as possible. And then when it's time to color it in, instead of coloring the objects, color in the negative space. The negative space is the space that's left around the objects. In my case, it's the flowers and the leaves. So I'm painting the background that's outside of my flowers and leaves, which means that the inside of the drawings will show the background, will show all those colors and patterns in the background. And yes, a lot of that background is being covered up, and that's okay. If you want, you can scrape some of the paint off to show some of that background through, but you don't have to. You can scrape it with the sides of a palette knife, with the tip of any sharp objects. I used a palette knife here. You can use a toothpick. You can use something to just scribble there, write something while the paint is still wet, and it shows through with the colors in the background. So I'm just at this stage. I'm just going one canvas after another. So I finished one canvas with the negative painting, and now I moved on to the next one, which is also another floral painting, but just using different shapes of flowers. They don't need to be realistic flowers or anything like that. Try to pick shapes or objects or anything that has like nice big surfaces, so that once you paint in the negative space, there's still nice big chunks of area where you can see the background. Once the background was done, I could have left it like that, like you see on the right, but I decided to go ahead and do some outlines, and I will do that on both canvases as well. Here for me, I used white for the first drawing and the negative space, and I'm going with black to do another layer of the outlines, but you can see that I'm not really filling that black with thick layers or uniform layers. On the right, I tried using red, but then I figured that I didn't like it too much, so I covered it up again. So play around with it. On the left-hand painting, if you look closely, you'll see that I also did some silver lines straight from the tube on top of the black line, so kind of covered up some of the black lines. And it's completely personal. You can use thick, bold lines as well, and keep on adding lines and textures, and you can always touch up the painted areas as well. It doesn't need to be all done once you've moved on to the next step. So the painting just keeps going back and forth. I might do multiple layers of just the outlines. If I end up not liking the outlines with the dark color, I might go back and do the outlines in white again. I might add more colors and textures and more little patterns on the colored areas as well. I might add more shapes and patterns or drawings in that negative space that I already colored in. So keep on going, keep adding more and more layers of paints and lines and textures. And you can add collage material if you want. Uh, you can see that I've gone back and added some little dots, little lines, little textures inside the flowers, and then I go out again. Now here's the before and after picture. This is before the negative space was painted and after it's all complete. And finally, the painting's framed. Hope you enjoyed this little workshop. Please tag me if you create your own abstract paintings in this process. Thank you so much.